I found the letter when I was 15, digging through a box in the attic looking for old photo albums. It was addressed to my grandmother, dated 3 months before I was born, and written in my mother's familiar handwriting. "Mum, I don't know what to do. The pregnancy test is positive and I'm terrified. This wasn't supposed to happen. I'm only 19. I have college plans, a life I wanted to live. How am I supposed to do any of that with a baby? I know you'll tell me everything happens for a reason, but this feels like a mistake. A huge, life-ruining mistake." I read it 3 times, sitting on the dusty attic floor, feeling something crack open inside my chest. A mistake. My mother thought I was a mistake. I carefully put the letter back in the box, went down to my room, and never mentioned it to anyone. But I couldn't forget it. Those words, a huge, life-ruining mistake, played on repeat in my head for years. The thing was, my mom never treated me like a mistake. She was a good mother, loving, present, supportive. She'd dropped out of college when she got pregnant with me, worked as a receptionist to support us, raised me alone after my father left when I was 2. She came to every school event, helped with homework, told me she was proud of me. But I'd read those words. I knew the truth underneath the love. I'd ruined her life. I was the reason she never finished college, never pursued the career she'd wanted, never traveled or lived the life she'd planned. Me. I was the mistake that derailed everything. So I spent the next 15 years trying to make up for it. I got straight A's, graduated valedictorian, got a full ride to Northwestern for civil engineering. I worked my ass off in college, graduated top of my class, got recruited by a prestigious firm in Chicago. I sent my mother money every month, small amounts at first, then more as my career progressed and my salary increased. "You don't have to do this," she'd say every time. "I'm fine, Emma. I have my job, my apartment. I don't need your money." But I needed to send it. Needed to somehow balance the scales, to pay her back for the life I'd cost her. I was 28 when I got the promotion to senior project manager. The raise was significant. I was now making $180,000 a year, more money than I'd ever imagined. And the first thing I thought was, maybe now I can give Mom back some of what she lost. She was living in a cramped 1-bedroom apartment in a not great part of Milwaukee, still working as a receptionist at 47, still alone. She dated occasionally, but never seriously. She had friends, but no real community. She seemed fine, not happy, not unhappy, just existing in the life she'd been stuck with since I was born. I called her the day after my promotion was official. "Mom, I have news. Good news." "Oh? Did you meet someone?" That was always her first question. When was I going to find a nice man and settle down, like that would somehow complete the circle? "No. Work news. I got promoted. Big raise. And I want to do something for you." "Emma, you already send me too much money. I want to build you a house." Silence on the other end of the line. "A house?" she said finally. "Emma, that's crazy. Houses cost—" "I know what they cost. I'm a civil engineer, remember? I build things for a living, and I want to build something for you. A real house, Mom, with a yard and a garden and space for all the things you never had room for. Let me do this." "Why would you do that?" "Because you called me a mistake and I've spent 15 years trying to prove I was worth keeping anyway. Because I ruined your life, and I can never give you back your 20s, but maybe I can give you a home. Because I owe you for every sacrifice you made raising a kid you never wanted. But I didn't say any of that. Because you deserve it. Because you've lived in that apartment for 20 years and it's time for something better. Because I have the money and the skills and I want to do something meaningful with both. Please, Mom, let me do this." Another long pause. "Where would we even build it?" "Anywhere you want. Pick a place. Milwaukee, somewhere else, wherever you've always dreamed of living, and I'll make it happen." 3 months later, I was standing on a half-acre lot 30 minutes outside Milwaukee, looking at architectural plans with my mother. She'd chosen this place, quiet, wooded, near a lake, far from the city where she'd spent decades struggling. "Are you sure about this?" she kept asking. "Emma, this is so much money. I'm sure. I've never been more sure of anything." The design was modest but beautiful. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, open concept living area, large windows to capture the woods view, a covered porch where she could sit and read, a small garden plot because she'd mentioned once, years ago, that she wished she had space to grow tomatoes. I managed the entire project myself, hired contractors I trusted, oversaw every phase of construction, made sure everything was done right. Spent my evenings and weekends on that lot, watching her house take shape board by board. My mother visited often during construction, but she was always uncomfortable with it. "You should be saving for your own house," she'd say, "saving for your future, not spending it all on me." "This is for my future," I'd reply, not entirely lying, because maybe if I built her a perfect house, if I gave her something beautiful, it would somehow balance out that letter in the attic, would somehow transform me from a mistake into a daughter worth the sacrifice. The house took 8 months to build. In January, 2 days after her 48th birthday, I handed my mother the keys. "It's yours, fully paid for. No mortgage, no rent, nothing. Just yours." She stood in the driveway crying, looking at the house, her house, like she couldn't believe it was real. "Emma, I don't know what to say. This is the most incredible gift anyone has ever given me." "But why? Why would you spend so much on this?" "Because you gave me everything. This is just me giving something back." We walked through together, through the sunny living room with its big windows, the kitchen with the good appliances, the master bedroom with the attached bath, the spare room I'd told her could be a guest room or office, the covered porch, the garden plot, already prepared with good soil. "I raised you in a series of crappy apartments," Mom said, touching the granite countertops like they might disappear. "And you built me this. How did I raise such an incredible daughter?" "You didn't mean to raise me at all," I thought. But what I said was, "You raised me to work hard and give back. I'm just following your example." Mom lived in that house for 3 years. She thrived there, finally had space to breathe, to have friends over, to grow her garden. She seemed happier than I'd ever seen her, and I felt not quite forgiven, but maybe less guilty, like I'd finally paid part of the debt I owed. Then came the phone call at 2 a.m. "Emma?" Mom's voice was strange, slurred, confused. "Something's wrong. My left side won't work right." I was in the car within 5 minutes, made the 30-minute drive in 20. Found her on the floor of the beautiful living room I'd designed, unable to move her left side, struggling to speak clearly. Stroke, a major one. She was 49 years old. The recovery was brutal, 2 months in the hospital and rehab. When she finally came home, she needed a wheelchair, had limited use of her left arm, spoke slowly and with difficulty. The house I'd built, with its smooth hardwood floors and open concept and beautiful garden, suddenly felt like a cruel joke. She couldn't manage the porch steps, couldn't reach the kitchen cabinets, couldn't tend the garden she'd loved. I took a leave of absence from work, moved into the guest room I'd designed, became her caretaker, helped her with physical therapy, managed medications, modified the house as best I could, ramps, grab bars, lowered counters. One night, 3 months after the stroke, I was helping her get ready for bed. She was having a bad day, frustrated with her limitations, angry at her body, exhausted from fighting to do simple tasks. "I'm sorry," she said suddenly, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry you have to do this. You should be in Chicago, living your life, not stuck here taking care of your disabled mother." I've ruined your life. The words hit me like a physical blow. I've ruined your life. The same words she'd written about me 30 years earlier. Mom, you haven't ruined anything. I have. Look at you. You're 31, no husband, no kids of your own. You gave up your job to take care of me. You spent your money building me this house that I can barely use now. Your whole life has been about compensating for having me as a mother, and now I'm making it even worse. I stared at her. What are you talking about? I know you found the letter, Emma. My breath stopped. What letter? The one I wrote to my mother when I was pregnant with you. The one where I called you a mistake. I know you found it when you were 15. I saw you putting it back in that box, and I've watched you spend the last 15 years trying to, I don't know, apologize for existing, trying to prove you were worth keeping. She was crying harder now. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you ever read those words. I'm sorry you've carried them all these years. Because, Emma, you need to understand. I was 19 and terrified, and yes, I was angry about being pregnant, but you were never a mistake, never. You wrote that. I wrote that I felt like the pregnancy was a mistake. That's different. I was scared and overwhelmed, and I'd just found out my entire life plan was derailed. But the moment you were born, the moment I held you, Emma, you were never a mistake. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. But you gave up college, your career, everything you wanted. I did give up my original plans, but I gained you, and that trade was worth it. Every single day that trade was worth it. Did I struggle? Yes. Was it hard? Yes. Did I sometimes wonder what my life would have been like if things had gone differently? Of course, but that doesn't mean I regretted having you. Those are completely different things. She grabbed my hand with her good one. You've spent 15 years trying to pay me back for a debt you never owed. This house, all the money you've sent, the career sacrifices you've made. Emma, you don't owe me anything. I chose to keep you. I chose to raise you. Whatever I gave up willingly. You don't have to spend your life trying to compensate for existing. I sat on the floor next to her wheelchair and cried. Cried for the 15-year-old who'd read that letter and internalized that she was a mistake. Cried for all the years I'd spent trying to earn my right to exist. Cried for my mother, who'd apparently known all along and hadn't known how to fix it. I built you this house because I thought I owed you your dreams back, I said through tears. Because I thought I'd stolen your life, and this was the least I could do to make up for it. Oh, Emma, my dreams changed when you were born. They became about raising an incredible daughter, which I did. They became about watching you succeed, which you have. They became about you, and that was never a burden. That was a gift. But the letter was written by a scared teenager who didn't understand yet what motherhood meant. The life I lived after that, the one where I raised you, that was chosen by a woman who knew exactly what she was doing and wouldn't change it for anything. We sat there for a long time, both crying, both finally saying things that should have been said 15 years ago. So you don't need me to compensate? I asked finally. I don't need to make up for existing. You never did. All I ever wanted was for you to be happy. To live your own life, not spend it trying to pay me back for mine. But if I want to take care of you, not because I owe you, but because I love you and you need help and I want to be here. Mom squeezed my hand. Then stay because you want to, not because you think you have to. Stay because we're family and family helps each other, not because you're trying to earn your right to exist. You've always had that right, Emma. From the moment you were born, you've always had that right. I took a 6-month leave from work and spent it helping Mom recover. But this time I did it differently. Not as penance, not as debt repayment, but as a daughter taking care of her mother because she wanted to. Because love wasn't about owing, it was about choosing. I also started going to therapy. worked through the damage that letter had done, the years I'd spent believing I needed to compensate for the crime of being born. Learned to separate my mother's fear and confusion at 19 from her love for me in all the years that followed. And I modified the house again. But this time, I let Mom be part of the decisions. We turned it from my gift to her into our shared project, made it truly accessible, truly hers, in a way my original design hadn't been because I'd been too focused on it being perfect rather than practical. Mom made a good recovery, not complete. She'd always have some left-side weakness, always speak a bit slower. But she regained independence, learned to manage the house with modifications, got strong enough that I could move back to Chicago and visit regularly instead of living there full-time. On Mother's Day, a year after her stroke, we sat on the accessible porch I'd rebuilt, looking at the garden she was learning to tend again with adaptive tools. "Thank you for the house," she said. "Not because you owed it to me, but because it's beautiful, and I love it, and it was an incredible gift from a daughter who loves me. That's the only reason I need." "Thank you for keeping me," I said, "even when you were 19 and scared and had every reason to make a different choice." "Thank you for being worth keeping," she replied, "though you always were from the very beginning. I just wish I'd told you that before you read that stupid letter. You're telling me now. That's what matters." We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the woods that surrounded her home, the home I'd built, but not as repayment anymore, just as love. "What are you going to do now?" Mum asked. "Now that you're not spending all your time and money trying to compensate for existing?" I thought about it. "I don't know. Live my life, I guess. The one I want, not the one I think I owe you. Maybe take that trip to Japan I've been putting off. Maybe date without worrying that having relationships means I'm not focused enough on taking care of you. Maybe just exist without guilt." "That sounds perfect," Mom said, squeezing my hand. "That sounds like exactly what a daughter should do." My mother had called me a mistake when she was 19 and terrified. I'd found that letter at 15 and spent the next 15 years trying to prove I was worth keeping anyway. I'd built her a house, a beautiful house, a perfect house, thinking it would somehow balance the scales, thinking it would transform me from an accident into a choice, from a burden into a blessing. But the truth was simpler and more complicated. I'd always been a choice. From the moment she'd decided to keep me, through every sacrifice she'd made, through every struggle and hardship, she'd chosen me. The mistake hadn't been my existence. It had been my belief that I needed to earn the right to exist. I'd built my mother a house, but in building it, in caring for her, in finally having the conversation we should have had 15 years earlier, she'd given me something more valuable. She'd given me permission to stop apologizing for being born. She'd given me freedom from a debt I'd never actually owed. She'd given me back the life I'd spent 30 years trying to pay for. And that gift, the gift of knowing I was wanted, was chosen, was loved not despite my existence but because of it, that was worth more than any house I could ever build. My mother had said I was a mistake. Years later, I'd built her a home. But the real home, the one that mattered, was the one we'd built together in that conversation. A home where daughters didn't have to earn their right to exist, where mothers could be scared and still be loving, where family was about choice and love rather than debt and obligation. That home had no mortgage, no deed, no physical address, but it was the only one that really mattered. And it was finally ours.